I'm Lynn. I've been here at the company for a long time. And as I do the presentation, I'm going to mute everybody just to prevent any background noise. When we're finished, I will go ahead and unmute for questions. If I can get my mouse to work.
I got him.
All right. Okay, today we're talking about database defaults. And I'd like to welcome everybody to Keystroke Live. We do this every week, same time, same place, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. The topics change every week. And the first Wednesday of the month is hosted by our president, Michael Gebb. So he always has good tidbits of information. So we're going to be talking about database defaults. I'm going to go through the presentation with the PowerPoint, then we're going to get into Keystroke, and I'm going to show you a lot of this stuff. What the defaults are for, especially for the add screens, it can eliminate the need to retype identical information on new records or records that you add to Keystroke. Each database has both an add and edit defaults for each screen. Some databases have several screens, some only have one or two. Most often they're used on inventory and customers, but they can be used on any of our databases. And they can be defined by security level, so you can have different security levels see different screens. You can use this default function to set 4 basic areas. Initial values like your price or tax codes and tables. On the codes, remember, go on the inventory records, the tables go on the customer records. Things like the city and the state. There's just all kinds of things, and it just makes it easier so you don't have to type that in each time. You can also add formulas into various fields. This is primarily for prices, so you can, when you're adding a new record, you can put in your average cost or your last cost, and then you can add formulas so Keystroke will calculate the prices for you. And part of the calculating the prices is having field links. So you can link, say, your base price, level 1 price, all your different prices, and have them linked to the cost and calculated based on the cost. There is also field security per field to allow or prevent access to various fields. So let's get into Keystroke here. And we're starting on the inventory main screen. And notice inventory has quite a few screens. It's got the order data screen, the more data screen, custom screen. Let's go back to the main screen. When we just mentioned security levels, notice by default, because this is an existing record, it is defined by the edit mode screen. And by default, your costs and your quantities are not available. Also things like your last count, you sold, total purchase. These can be made available based on security level. This whole function is available to the end user if they have the security level to edit these screens. So to access them, you go to the Setup menu and go to Default. It gives you a list of all the available screens. So we have Add Mode, Edit Mode, and then the level is the security level of the clerk that can see these screens. So let's start out with the Add mode. This is when you add new records to the system. And there are several things here that I'm going to kind of show you all kinds of things. You have formulas here in your prices. These are for initial values. You've got things like your default price code is your asterisk, your default tax code is taxable, your sale unit is each, sale quantity, that sort of thing. So these, this is when you add a new item, these fields are going to be filled out for you. Let's take a look at field links. Notice when I put my cursor in the Alt ID number, down here at the bottom, it tells you this is linked from number. In keystroke lingo, that means the stock number. So automatically, Keystroke is going to put the stock number in the Alt ID field. Of course, you can change it. You don't have to have it linked. To link a field, you can hit F2 or Insert, and you can link something else in there. We're just going to leave it as is. Now notice if I hit Escape on this list, it's no longer linked to the number. So to relink it, F2 or Insert, hit Enter, and you notice down right above your status bar, it says linked from number. As in all areas of Keystroke, the status bar does give you some great information. The Insert or F2 gives you access to your linking fields. F3 allows you to edit the security on a particular field, and of course F1 for help. Let's take a look at some of these formulas. Okay, if you go into base price, notice it's linked from last cost. If you go into last cost, it's linked from cost. So when you're adding a new record, if the person that adds it puts in average cost, that's automatically going to put that same value in the last cost, and then it's going to calculate your prices based on the formulas and the linking. So that makes it really easy. You don't have to sit there with the calculator and calculate what you want each of these costs, each of your prices to be. You can set up your default screen to automatically do this. Base price, you notice, is linked from last cost, has a formula of plus M50. The M means it's a profit margin. The plus means it's just a formula. And you're going to do a 50% profit margin, or in other words, a 100% markup of what your last cost is. So that's going to calculate your base price. So if your last cost is $1, your base price is going to be $2. As you go down the list, you notice the list price is linked from base price. There's no formula, so whatever the base price gets calculated for, it's going to change. It's going to put the same thing in your list price. Level 1, 2, and 3, notice, have formulas, but they are linked from the base price as well. So your level 1 price is going to be 95% of your base price, or a 5% discount, and down the line. So you can kind of see, you can change these formulas if you want. You can have this to be like plus M45 if you want. You can have your level prices to be, you want this to be a 10% off instead of 5% off. Once you make the changes, remember this is the add screen, we have a unique naming system for the screens as well. So if you're just looking at the file names, kind of gives you an idea. DB is database. DBS is database screen. I is for inventory. A is for add, 1 is for screen 1, and 07 is the security level. When you finish making your changes, you can hit F10. It's the inventory main screen. If you even want to change the title, you can. The security level, this is for accessing the screen and the ability to edit it. So you probably just want to leave that either the null character or maybe put a 0 or a 1 in there. This is the add mode. Notice you can also do view modes if you want to. You can add more screens. It is screen number 1. Security level is 7. And I save that. You're going to have similar defaults on all of your other screen modes. So we've got screen 2, and you've got defaults in here. We're just going to escape out of this. We're not really going to get into it. You also have edit modes. So let's look at the edit mode for screen 1. If, for example, you want to change the security level so you can access your average cost field or your quantity on hand field, you can do this by putting your cursor in that field, hitting F3, remember down here on the status bar, and you can change that field security level. Let's go back a second. So notice your costs and your quantities aren't available. So if I go to the default edit mode screen, if I want to make these available, sorry, I didn't want to do linking, I wanted to do security level. Remember, this is the security level of who can access it. There is a little caveat. If you make this a security level of 0, that means anyone who can edit inventory can edit that field. So you want to take that into consideration. So if your security clerks with a security level of 5 can edit inventory, if you put a 0 in here, even your security level 5 will be able to edit this. So I don't really recommend setting this to 0. You might set it, say, to a 1. So even though 5s can edit inventory, you have to be a 1 or a 0 to be able to edit this. By default, we don't allow editing of these because you want Keystroke to track it without interference. But there are certain circumstances where you may want to access these fields. So I'm going to go through and change some of these fields. We're going to make them all security level 1. Here. And then if I save this screen, and since I'm in as a security level 0, now I can access these fields. So you want to be careful. You don't want to just give access to anybody, especially to things like your costs and that sort of thing and your quantity on hand. But you can do that if you'd like. You have similar things on your customer database. Let's take a look at the customer database screen. And let's go into the default add mode. So when you add a new customer, it automatically puts things in like the price table and the tax table. If your customers are primarily local, maybe you want to put in your state or your city. Maybe you want your phone numbers to always start with your area code. You can put that sort of information in there and save it. So you can see if I now go to add a customer, it's already going to have the area code prefix. It's already going to have the the state in here, and then I can put in some information. I can put myself in here as a customer, you know, put in whatever information I want here. And save that. The same thing, remember we did change the inventory add, so if I go to add inventory, I can put in some information. And we're just going to call this a test item. I'm going to make my cost $2. Notice once I put my average cost in here, with all these other fields linked, if I put average cost in, it automatically puts in my last cost, calculates my prices based on my formulas. Remember, I had changed this to a 45% margin, which you can see here, and it automatically calculates my prices. Don't be alarmed when you first add new records if the number is in parentheses and the alt ID is negative. Once you save it by hitting F10, it changes to positive numbers. So let's do a little bit of a review here. Let's go back to this PowerPoint. These default screens can help you eliminate the need to retype identical information over and over. Now, there's only one default screen. You know, you can't have an add default for a certain manufacturer or a certain type of item, and then one for another manufacturer and another manufacturer. But if you're adding a whole lot of new items that are from, say, the same manufacturer or something like that, or they have a lot of common information, you can always go in and change your add default to put all that information in there. You can add a bunch of new records, and then you can change it to something else and add a bunch of other new records. Remember, you have both add and edit defaults. Most often it's used in inventory and customers, and you can set a security level. You use these default functions to set initial values. When you add items, what do you want in those fields 90% of the time? Helps save you a bunch of typing. You could put in formulas primarily for your prices. You can put in field links, so your prices are calculated from your cost. An example on the inventory is your alt ID number comes from your stock number. And you can change the field security. I'd like to open this up for questions. I've unmuted everybody. Does anybody have any questions on these database defaults? Everybody's kind of quiet.
Can everybody hear us still?
Yes.
Any questions? Well, you can always call us. I'd like to thank everybody for attending. Remember, we do this the same time, the same place, every Wednesday at 10. Next week, we're having Mike Tabor talk about valid entries lists, which are ways to restrict fields to just a certain list of items rather than makes it easier so people don't have to type things in all the time. Last chance for questions, folks. I appreciate everybody coming. Everybody have a wonderful day.